Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our second day of the third annual Glenn Symposium. So happy to have you back. The theme for this year's event is convergence, deep space, near space, and aeronautics coming together. My name is Jim Way. I'm the Executive Director of the American Astronautical Society. We're very excited about this event and very happy to have you all joining us. Thank you very, very much for participating in this event. And I'd like to thank all of our event sponsors: Aerojet Rocketdyne, the Aerospace Corporation, Ball Aerospace, Dynetics, Lockheed Martin, Maxar, Moog, Teledyne Brown Engineering, and our media sponsor, Space News. And thank you to everyone at the NASA Glenn Research Center. We couldn't do it without you. And also thank you very, very much to our planning committee listed here. I know there's a lot of names, so we encourage you to go onto our website at astronautical.org and look at the program for the event where the full planning committee is listed. So I've got some logistical items for you. A reminder that we'll take a break of about 30 minutes in the middle of the day today, so you can grab some lunch. Please submit your questions via the Q&A tool in the event platform. In the live session, you'll see a thing and it says Q&A, and you just drop your questions in there. Our panelists and speakers are all willing to take questions, so we highly encourage you to go ahead and do that. If you are using Twitter or other social media, our hashtag is Glenn2021. And please do follow us online on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There are our handles there. So finally, our session intros will be short, leaving time for actual discussion and Q&A. Full bios of speakers and panelists are available in the interactive program. Just click on anybody's picture in there and you'll be able to see them and learn more about them. All right, so I think we're ready to get started with our keynote talk. So to introduce our speaker, I'd like to bring up Jim Mazur. He is Senior Vice President of Aerojet Rocketdyne's Space Business Unit. But before Jim gets started, let's take a look at this short video. And very cool video about Aerojet Rocketdyne. So Jim Mazur, if you turn on your video and come on in, and I'll turn it over to you to introduce the administrator. While we're waiting for Jim, I just want to say that we're looking forward to the administrator's talks. Administrator Nelson, it'll be good to have you here. So hang on one second while Jim Mazur comes in. He was just here a second ago. But while we're waiting, I'll tell you that we have a great day in store. We'll be talking about, after the administrator's remarks, we'll be talking about the Artemis Deep Space Gateway. And we'll be talking about surface exploration with some great folks in that one. And then we'll be talking about surface power. We'll try to address things related to surface power. All right.
Okay, Jim.
And yeah, there you go, Jim. Piece of paper in
There
front
we
of the
go.
camera. There you go. All right.
Technical difficulty.
Welcome back, Jim. All right. So I'll turn it over to you. All yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the AAS NASA Glenn Symposium. We're really excited to participate in the 3rd annual event. This is my 3rd event for me, and I have to say that it's special every time I participate with NASA Glenn, because NASA Glenn actually gave me a fellowship for my master's degree, which enabled my career in space. And so it's really very special to be participating with NASA Glenn every year in this event. And certainly at Aerojet Rocket, I'm proud to have partnered with NASA Glenn on a variety of innovative space programs for more than 5 generations. So as you can see in the video, we're heavily involved in NASA's Next Giant Leap, the Artemis program, supporting SLS, Orion, and Lunar Gateway. And the Artemis 1 SLS rocket is now assembled at Kennedy Space Center. So this rocket is real, it's now, and provides an exploration capability that does not exist in the world today. It can deliver greater mass and volume than any existing launch vehicle in one launch, reducing risk, simplifying operations, and mission design. So we're all excited to see Artemis 1 progressing to first launch, and that launch wouldn't be happening without today's keynote speaker, NASA Administrator Senator Bill Nelson, who in 2010 is ranking member of the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, along with Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, passed the landmark legislation that remade the future of the civilian space program for the next era of human spaceflight. Senator Bill Nelson is a strong advocate for space exploration, STEM education, and earth science programs. In 1986, he became the 2nd sitting member of Congress to fly in space after Jake Garn, when he served as a payload specialist on the Space Shuttle Columbia. It's great to have such an outstanding policymaker and astronaut leading the agency. Please join me in welcoming today's keynote speaker, NASA Administrator Senator Bill Nelson.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all very, very much for having me today. And it's a great day, it's an exciting day. In the video that you've already seen, it's been an extraordinary time, and we have an extraordinary time going forward. As a matter of fact, we've got all kinds of things that are happening this year. I want to thank the American Astronomical Society for inviting me to speak here today. And I thank you for your efforts to bring us together in these times. I'll be looking forward to seeing you in the future. I'm going to be coming out to Glenn very shortly. And as a matter of fact, this is timely because we are celebrating John Glenn's 100th birthday. Now, he was an exceptional person. You all know, distinguished test pilot, fighter pilot, astronaut, lawmaker. He never gave up. He was an extraordinary husband. And when he flew the 2nd time, he showed the younger guys how to do it, and he was 77 years old. It was my privilege to get to know John as a friend. As a matter of fact, when the Congress was planning to award the Congressional Medal of Distinction, the Medal of Freedom, to a group of astronauts, it was my recommendation that it be John Glenn and the Apollo 11 astronauts, 2 of the greatest nation's trailblazers. So we come to this time with an extraordinary future as we reflect upon John Glenn and what he did for us. He blazed the trail. Just think back to that time. This is the late 50s, and suddenly the Soviet Union, our then mortal enemy, put up Sputnik. And all of a sudden, America did not have the high ground. And then getting into 1961, they surprised us again. We're trying to get off the ground with the Redstone, which would only take Alan Shepard and Gus Grissom into suborbit. And before Shepard flies, they surprise us again with Gagarin and one orbit. And then Titov with multiple orbits. And in the meantime, we've gone into suborbit. One time when I was a young congressman, I was on the floor of the House, and Tip O'Neill, the speaker, was on the floor, and he beckoned me over, and he said, because Tip had known that I was going to fly, and he wanted to tell me this story. When he was a young congressman, he was down at the White House. John F. Kennedy was president, and two Boston Poles. And he said, I noticed the president just pacing back and forth like a cat on a hot tin roof. And I called to one of the assistants and I said, what in the world is going on with the president? And we were getting ready to launch Alan Shepard because the president knew how much the prestige of America was on the line and how much America as a technological leader, and we were behind. And of course, that pressure intensified. And then in February of 1962, we put up John Glenn for 3 orbits. And of course, you know the rest. They had an indication that he had a heat shield that was loose. And if that was not a sensor problem, as it turned out to be, indeed what it would be is he would burn up on reentry. And of course, John was as cool as anything. And so I'm just proud to be here talking to you all on this occasion. Now, the subject of this meeting is convergence. And we see a lot of convergence. If you think of that as two things or many things suddenly coming together, we're seeing that in our space program. We're seeing at the same time that we are planning with Artemis 1, which will likely launch at the end of this year, and that we will send humans back to lunar orbit in 2 years, in 2023, as we prepare a gateway, which will be like an outpost that will be in cislunar orbit, that will be a way station for us to go down to the moon's surface and support all of the commercial activities that are going back to the moon in the CLIPS program. And to have human activity there as we prepare to learn and endure for long durations as we get ready to go to Mars. And that's the other point of the way station, as we then decide on the architecture of what we're going to put together, the technology development of the ultimate vehicle that will take us to Mars. Under current propulsion, it's going to take us 6 months minimum to get there. Once you get there, because the planets are going to be out of alignment, you're going to have to stay there for a while. And so we're going to end up having to be on the lunar surface on the Martian surface for quite a while. And so we've got to learn how to exist and to have fuel and to have consumables, including oxygen, for all that length of time, and then to be able to get back all the way when the planets realign so that we can get back within a short period of time. That's just one thing in this convergence. Look at what we're doing in aeronautics. We're developing an electric airplane for obvious reasons, lessen the emissions. We're getting ready a very short time to test a supersonic that will lower the sonic boom so that that supersonic aircraft could in fact fly over and go supersonic over land masses, which of course, back when the Concorde was flying, we stayed away from doing that and only would go supersonic well over the oceans. So the sonic boom. Look what we're doing at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Oh my goodness. Here, not only have they done the rover that's as large as a Volkswagen, but indeed now they have the little helicopter. And it's far outlived its design life. And it's now a scout for us. As we want to go, the rover over there, we send the helicopter over there, which it's just doing now, going across a sandy bog to see what's on the other side so that we wouldn't take the chance that the rover would get bogged down in the sand. Look also what JPL did having to do with COVID. Ventilators, we needed them desperately, and JPL developed a special ventilator to help patients while using fewer parts than the traditional ventilators. And as the country faced the pandemic, they developed it in 37 days. And more than 100 manufacturers from around the world applied for a free license to build this ventilator. It's called Vital. And NASA awarded 31 licenses, making it the most licensed NASA technology of all time. And several companies, including Columbus Stark Industries, have began manufacturing the ventilator. And the reach is far beyond the US. As a matter of fact, they're using it in India as they have this surge of COVID there. Another incredible spinoff, originally created in Ohio at Glenn, is a super elastic tire. And I just told our staff, I want to get some of these tires because my bicycle tires always go down. And this is a tire that is lightweight, durable, and it never goes flat. And so these are just some of the things that are converging. It's proof that NASA is supporting the economy nationally, locally, and internationally. And by supporting hundreds of thousands of jobs, NASA is fueling the growth in industries that will drive our country forward and outward. Now, think about what we're dealing with. Our budget is 0.5% of the entire federal budget. But this little agency generates $64 billion in total economic output. And all of NASA's missions are for the benefit of humanity. And none more important than protecting our planet. So while NASA can always push out into the unknown, one major mission for NASA is protecting our own planet. It's home. Just a month ago, NASA announced the development of a next generation of climate data systems. It's called the Earth System Observatory. And it's going to help us understand and track how climate change is impacting communities across the country, indeed across the world. This observatory will build on NASA's existing capabilities. It's going to look at the land, the oceans, the atmosphere, and the ice. And it's a 3D holistic view from compiling all of that. We need these investments because storms are getting stronger and more destructive. And if we want to mitigate climate change, we have to measure it. And that's what NASA does. So we've got this just incredible output in this little agency. We are doing so much, and Glenn is very much a part of it. And so I want to thank you for what you're doing. We had another announcement yesterday, for example, in Earth Science with the European Space Agency. Now NASA and ESA are providing most of the world's Earth science coverage through our Earth observing satellites. It's just another example of what's happening. So what's happening is exploration, Earth science, aeronautics, international cooperation. They're all interconnected. And so I feel incredibly honored to be trying to offer some leadership to this agency, especially at this exciting time. I've actually always considered myself a part of the NASA family. Indeed, my grandparents homesteaded under the Homestead Act on 160 acres of land that I have a copy of the deed signed by Woodrow Wilson in 1917 to them. That 160 acres of land is today at the north end of the Space Shuttle runway at the Kennedy Space Center. And of course, I had the incredible opportunity 36 years ago to be a part of the Space Shuttle program on the 24th mission. Of course, that experience is seared in my mind's eye. And when you look back at our home, the planet, you look out the window of a spacecraft, there's this incredible home that we have. It's so beautiful, and yet it looks so fragile. And I came away wanting to be a better steward of what we have. So we're all in this together. And as we think about these challenges that face us, let's find the strength and the inspirations in the words of John Glenn. And I quote, "We are more fulfilled when we are involved in something bigger than ourselves." And indeed, we are. Thank you for letting me share this with you.
Administrator Nelson, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it. My name is Jim Way. I'm Executive Director of the American Astronautical Society. So good to have you here. I don't know if you recall, but back in 2015, we actually presented you with the John F. Kennedy Award at our Goddard Symposium there in Maryland, and for your influential and steadfast leadership in ensuring a preeminent American space program. And so good to have you back in the leadership role here, or in the utmost leadership role here, and continuing with that charge. So if you're willing and have time, it looks like we have time to take a couple of quick questions.
Certainly.
Excellent, excellent. So you're talking about Senator Glenn, and we got caught a little bit when it was time for his mission, like you said, and so we were behind. Arguably now we're ahead. We're the leader. What are we doing? What are we going to do to stay there and to maintain that position?
Well, I think that we have a very aggressive competitor in the Chinese government. It's not just in space, it's in everything. I think they have made a decision as a totalitarian government that they are going to excel. And indeed, when you see that they can land on Mars, as they have, the second nation to do so successfully, when they've already accomplished what they have in the vicinity of the moon and on the moon, when suddenly they put up a space station and populate it very quickly. I think this tells you something about the future. And when you look at what is published material coming out of China and Chinese government officials, then I think you see that they are intent on trying to win a race. And that brings us another challenge. Now, contrast that, interestingly, with what was happening back in John Glenn's early days in the space race. There, we had a mortal enemy. We were in a Cold War. We were always concerned, was it going to turn into a hot war? It almost did in 1962 in the Cuban Missile Crisis. And yet, in all of that, America, in succeeding in space, it was that very fact of success that ultimately brought our two space programs together. And especially in 1975, led by General Tom Stafford of Apollo and General Alexei Leonov of Soyuz, that Apollo-Soyuz mission, they rendezvoused and docked in space and lived together for 9 days. Now, that's instructive because ever since we have been cooperating. And look, the Russians are now our partners. They helped us build the space station. They're just getting ready to put up another component. They're dallying with the Chinese, and you know those comments saying that they're going to the moon with the Chinese. I personally think that's more talk than real, because they know who their real partners are in their civilian space program. And indeed, I want to keep that partnership. I've said that privately, I've said that publicly, and we've seen that kind of response from the cosmonauts, the space workers, and more recently in the leadership of the Russian space agency, Roscosmos. So I think as we're going forward, your question basically is about the Chinese government. I think we've got to mind our P's and Q's.
Understood. Understood. Well, unfortunately, I think we're about out of time. Just one real 10-second answer, if you could give it to me. You were on Columbia, 1986, the overview effect. Yes, absolutely. Is that really happening?
Absolutely. It happens to almost every space flyer. There's something that happens to you. For me as a politician, looking out that window at our planet, I didn't see religious boundaries. I didn't see racial boundaries. I didn't see political boundaries. What I saw was that we were all in this together.
That's a great perspective on it. And hopefully we all, or many, many more of us, get to experience that same thing. So Administrator Nelson, thank you very, very much for your time today. We appreciate your being here. We appreciate your excellent comments. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks. Have
All
a
right.
great day.
Take care. And with that, we're going to jump over to our next session. So thank you again to Administrator Nelson, and thanks to Aerojet Rocketdyne for your sponsorship and for being a full day sponsor. So this session is now going to end. Click to join our first full session of the day, where we'll talk about the Artemis Deep Space Gateway.